Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Hopefully, I can say within half an hour. Thank you for listening to me. Yeah? So the idea is to give you a broad overview of digital printing, but the main aspects I want to deal with you is new inks that we develop in our university. Okay, the inks that you're not yet seen here on the fair. So to give you some idea about digital printing, these are some facts. The potential market for digital printing is 40 billion square meter. That's today, let's say, classical printing, traditional printing, and only 1 or 2% is digital printing. So you can say it's not much, but I see it as a positive point. There is still 98% to go for digital printing. So there's a lot of chances, of course. 60% of all the consumption is in Europe, in China, Japan, and USA, but 60% of all printed production is in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, and so on. So these are the prognoses. Of course, these are prognoses. This is what we expect, that digital printing will increase, of course, not substitute, of course, substitute completely conventional printing. It will take time, of course, but here this is the prognosis, and as you can see, it will treble within a few years, and that's of course very interesting. So, DP printing skyrockets. Why, and the reasons and the triggers? Maybe you can summarize it in one picture. Yeah? Why are we switching to digital printing? This is the picture, I suppose. Yeah? A classical printer in Belgium has about 80,000 screens today. 80,000 screens. That means a lot of money. Each screen is 500 to 1,000 euro. So 80,000 multiplied by 1,000 euro, that's 80 million of euro on screens. They need a large place to stock all these screens. Now, with digital printing, you can go from screens, you put it all in your computer. That's so simply. So that means this is the future. This is the main reason why you're using, and we will switch more and more to digital printing. But of course, there are other merits. I don't want to go really in detail about all the merits. Today, in Belgium and Europe, we are confronted with shorter runs. Not anymore printing of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 meters. We have no orders of 50, 100 meters. No more. And when you print 50 or 100 meters, you cannot do it in a traditional way. It's not possible. It's not economic anymore. You have, of course, reduced stock keeping. The big advantage of digital printing, you have a virtual stock. Everything is in your computer, of course. Not on screens, but in your computer. You can have innovative products. You have faster and more frequent design change. Of course, not to forget personalization. Everyone wants personalized material. Mass customization also. Short lead times. Today we have an overconsumption of textile. We have to avoid it. The digital footprint is of course very, very high, so we had to avoid it. It's not my computer, this music I hope that you hear it at the back. You hear it still? Okay. So we'll talk a little louder. Yeah, it's a little confronting for me. So anyway, we're also dealing with other business model, and I think this is today really the chances for digital printing. So no stocks, no waste, and of course no setup cost, and this is the big advantage of digital printing. There is a study going on digital printing. You see the reduction of noise, but mostly you have the energy savings, of course, the production space reduction, the wastewater reduction. More than 70% is for digital printing. I hope you hear it still. Yeah, it's big business now for me, so I have to talk loud. But there is changing business model, and this, in my opinion, very important. Yeah. So today we're talking about fast fashion. We're talking about fast deco materials. Okay. So we have the key argument to switch also in the fast fashion to digital printing is the time to the market as quickly as possible. Not 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. No, you ordered, and maybe the day after you have already your textile materials. So digital design sell easier, of course. you have more freedom to designers. That's for creative people, for designers, of course, there's a big advantage. Unique design justifies sale prices. You need less personnel, of course. Labor costs are lower, and as I told you, have also lower economic and ecological impact. So what does it mean, fast fashion? The fast collection are today no longer broken in 4 seasons. Today you have 6, you have 7 seasons, even more. That means the design are changing more rapidly, quickly. Of course, this is an advantage. You cannot follow with screen printing. You can only follow with digital printing. Trends are broken, no broken online. So the trends to mass customization, as I told you, quickly to the response, and it is very well fitted for micro enterprises, new starters, techno starters, starting business with digital printing. And that means sometimes the number of persons are 2, 3, 4. And maybe, and this is also new, there are some business with what we call the prosumers. What is a prosumer? That's a consumer which produces its own textile material. And digital textile will make it possible. So, the business models are changing. The very big problem in Europe is today we produce and then we try to sell it. We produce 5,000 square meters, but we can only sell 2,000 square meters because the people doesn't like the design. So that means they have 3,000 square meters left. What to do with these 3,000 square meters? I think with digital printing, business model will change, and it's already changing. We produce what we already sold. First we sell the product, and then only we produce it. So that means we will not have overconsumption, we will not have stocks anymore. And this is the big advantage. So the right quantity on the right time, recalization, of course, today most business and printing is done in the Far East, in the East, in Asia and so on. I'm sure, not all the business, but certainly many business will come back to Europe. The retailers are looking for local markets. So that means they're looking for local printers too. Don't forget, textile has a very high footprint only because of the transport of textile. Textile is always underway. The dye stuff's underway, the textile material underway. So there is a lot, 80% of the life of a textile is transported by transport. So we have to eliminate that. And how can you do it? Produce locally. That's very important. So sustainability is, of course, another point. So fast fashion and fast deco and so on brings production back to Europe. For the printers localized to retail sources, that will be more business, closer to the end consumer, reduced transportation, as I told you. For the retailers, lower stock inventory, shorter turnarounds, and super quick production speed from designers to the shop floor. So the definition of mass production is changing. Today we produce more of a less portfolio. Tomorrow we produce less but with a much bigger portfolio. Today, for instance, we produce 6,000 pieces, but only with one design. Tomorrow we'll produce 6,000 pieces, but maybe with 50, with 20, with 30 designs. So more portfolio, and this is, of course, very interesting for digital printing. So this is more or less kind of an introduction. But I think digital printing is more than printing. Digital technologies is a smart way to jet chemicals on your textile material. Dye stuffs are chemicals. So if you can jet dye stuff, why cannot jet other chemicals, of course, in your textile material? And that's what we try to do in our lab also. So inkjet inks are important, the print heads is very important, and the digital printing. I will have a quick overview concerning digital printing. This is the actual situation today. So as you can see, we have solvent-based inks. We have the so-called eco-solvent, but I'm still worrying about this word eco. That's a fashion word. In my opinion, it's not really ecological. It's more economic than ecological. That's my opinion. You have bio-solvents and so on. However, in textile, I'm not talking about banners and signatures, there we use still solvents, but in the classical printing, for textile, deco-interior, we're using water-based system. Yeah? And what do we have as water-based system? We have acid inks for polyamide, as you see, for wool or silk. We have dispersed inks. We have two different kinds of dispersed inks. We have direct inks, which you can jet directly on your textile material, and sublimation transfer, of course. Yeah? Of course, this is only limited to polyester. Polyester, which is today the main synthetic fiber in the world. Yeah? The cost of polyester is the lowest in the world from all synthetic materials today. Polyester costs about 1.5 euro per kilogram. Polypropylene is about 2.2 average. Polyamide is more than 2.8 euro per kilogram. One of the main reasons why polyester is, of course, lower in price is polyester is quite a lot recycled from bottles, PET bottles, of course. Yeah? And that's why you have, this is one of the main reasons why polyester is most cheapest material. So today, polyester, but you can only, with dispersed dyes, this is only limited to polyester. The dispersed dye and other dyes are more or less struggling against today with pigment dyes. Pigment dyes, which are normally dyes which can be used on every kind of textile material. Okay? Again, I have to make you caution to that. Some suppliers of ink say that with pigment ink you don't need a pre-coating or pre-treatment. That's not really correct. If you want a good image, if you want a high build-up, if you want to have a high resolution, it is necessary to do a pre-treatment. Okay, you can print on every time textile material, but you as a customer, you want a textile material with this nice, with this brilliant, with vivid colors, and it has, I hope so, also durability, of course. Not that this, after first washing, all the print has gone. You want something durable, of course. So, reactive ink is especially for silk and cellulosic material. And now also coming in the picture is latex inks, which is mainly for wall covering, paper wall covering. But some cases you can also print on wall covering, for instance PVC coated wall coverings, because let's say the fastness properties for wall coverings, like you don't wash your, I suppose, your wall coverings, you don't rub on your wall covering, so let's say the fastness properties are less when you compare it to textile. So solvent inks, as I told you, more or less limited to banners, to flags, and so on. They have a lot of advantages, but I hope that you can see it. There has also a lot of disadvantages. You smell it, of course. Yeah, they produce VOCs, volatile organic components, which are not always, which are sometimes very harmful products, of course. And not forget also, it gives sometimes a strong odor, which is sometimes a problem, certainly when you use your textile in-house, inside, indoor, of course. Yeah. So here you have more or less an overview of the water-based inks dedicated, so acid is silk polyamide wool with some examples, ties, carvers, swimsuit, of course, reactive ink, fashion, cellulosic, pigment inks for home furnishing, decoration material, dispersed inks, certainly automotive. There are new, of course, dispersed inks for automotive with high light fastness. When you go with dispersed inks on polyester in the automobile, you cannot do it with transfer printing. The inks for dispersed inks for transfer printing have a low light stability, so you need high stability inks, and that you can only do by direct printing. And dispersed sublimation is flags, banners, and certainly main is the sport clothing in general, jackets and so on. So don't forget also those guys who work with pigment, for instance, dispersed inks on microfibers. Microfibers means, of course, a very big surface. Don't forget on microfibers, when you compare with classic polyester, for instance, you need 2 or 3 times more inks to have the same color yield. Yeah? Because microfibers is only surface, so if you want more color build up, you need the same color build up as the classic polyester, you need at least 2 or 3 times more ink. That means if you put directly the inks on your microfibers, the microfibers must be very well pre-treatment, otherwise you have problems with your resolution and your color build up. So the importance of deep inks is you have the color space. This is the obvious one, of course, when you look for the DP inks. The logical one is the price per liter. Today, the average price of an ink is about 30, 40 euro the liter. 5 years ago, it was 200, 300 euro the liter. And the forgotten one, it must be a trustful ink. Not an ink which you can print for 5 minutes, but you can print every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, and every year. Then you have a good ink, of course. So the nice things today is we have a lot of evolution in the print heads. This is the heart of the textile printer. It's your print head. Maybe, unfortunately, and this is a statement, that most of the print heads are coming from Japan, maybe only from one country. XR is an example in Europe. But that means the main supplier of all these print heads are Japanese print heads. So this can be an advantage, but sometimes maybe a disadvantage. Yeah? You have to take an account with that. In the ITMA, some years ago, you only saw digital printers with the Kyocera print heads. That means in the fast speed print machines, it was only Kyocera. Today you see Seiko, Dematic, Recode, and so on. So you have more choice in this. And here you have an overview of some of the inks. It's not, of course, it's only some, an overview of some of the inks. And this is important to look at the resolution, but also look at the frequency. 8 kilohertz means that a print, nozzle print jets 8,000 droplets per second, 8,000 droplets per second. If you have, let's say, 40 kilohertz, that means 40,000 droplets per second. It's amazing. If you're, from the technological side, this is amazing. But what does it mean for researchers? What does it mean for the future, these new print heads? Not only faster machines, but more possibility for new inks. And this is what, in my opinion, very important. So the firing frequencies, as I told you, is increasing. The new print heads have also higher viscosity. And this is not, of course, not a negative point. Higher viscosity means that you have a broader choice of ingredients in your inks. You have more choice of putting products in your inks, and this is, for me, a very big advantage. The jet volume is increased now with some print heads we put 4 picoliter. If we want functionality, 4 picoliter is not enough. But with print heads today on the market, for instance, for Dematic, you can print and jet 150 picoliter. That means that one droplet is 40 times more in volume than, for instance, a print head with jet 4 picoliter. That means you can really also have added amount. The amount can higher, and this is, of course, interesting for, let's say, new inks. And there are inks which are at this market which UV-curable, and I come later on that. So this is an overview of the machines. You can divide the machines in 3 machines. The low-speed machine working at 10 to 40 square meters per hour. You see the name. You have the medium-speed machine. I'll do it's already an industrial machine. Is the moderate machine up to 4,000 square meters per hour. 12 years ago, it was maximum 10 square meters per hour. Now we have 4,000. And now we have the really high-speed machines. The really high-speed machines. And some machine, there is one machine is already sold in Turkey, have, I think at this moment maybe theoretical, but have a production at 14,500 square meters per hour. It's a printer 3 meters 20 wide. That means it has a speed of 90 meters per linear meters per minute. 90 linear meters per minute. That's 3 times the speed of a conventional printing machine. Yeah. So this machine must work every second and every day. You cannot stand still this machine one day. You cannot load it, of course. That means if you want to use such a machine, you need trustful inks, of course. Yeah? Not inks which are clogged after 5 seconds or 1 minute. Because if you don't look at the textile material, you go to the toilet for 5 minutes, you come back and you have 400 square meters of textile which is lost, of course. So you need also in the future more inspection for that. And maybe to give you a better view of the speed, when we talk about low-speed printers, today for 30,000 square meters, that's more on average, we need 80 days. With this faster machine, and let's say it works very well at 40,500 square meters, it takes 2 hours, 80 days to 2 hours. Of course, the price of the machine is also much higher. This is lower, but the price is, of course, higher. I think it's a price about some millions of euro, of course. Yeah? We need business for that. So this is, at this moment, they're working with but this solvent printers to 5 meters. And you don't believe it or not, but there is today, I've visited the company, there is a printer today with the highest width. There is a printer of 12 meters today, 12 meter width. They can only roll of up to 50 meters, otherwise by the weight of the roll itself it will have a problem. Yeah? And to give you a view that I've done, this is the printer. You don't see such printer here at this moment, I suppose so. And it's from big image, and you see here how it is working. You need a little bicycle going from one side to the other side. Yeah? So if they sell such machine, you obtain also a little bicycle so you can follow production. We're joking, of course. But you see what all today is possible. It's really amazing. So coming to the last part, what are we doing in our lab? We're not applied research. We're not doing fundamental research. We hope that we're doing research, no nonsense research, but research inks which will come soon to the market. And we produce or we develop inks which are useful for existing machines. That's also important. So you can put in an Epson printer, you can put it in a Muto printer, but you can put it also in other printers. That's what we want. And why are we looking for? As I told you, the print heads, which is now, of course, changing, and the high-speed print heads, which allows a lot more volume. We have a broader choice of ingredients, more jetting volume, more possibilities for not only printing colors, but printing really functionality, as you will see later on. I think one of you see it already here in the audience, one is the UV inks. But when you have a UV ink, it's smelling, okay? And it's good for outdoor, but not so good for indoor. And certainly if you deco material and so on. So we want to make inks really destined for textile, okay? We want to make inks, and for some guys who don't realize what, this is not printing, but it's one of my research in the lab. I give you an idea how it works and how quick it works, of course. Diesel printing, you see a lot of these printers here. You put it in on UV or on a LED system, and after a few seconds, it's fixed. It's fixed at room temperature, very important. It's not high heating, room temperature. So what are the possible advantages? So what we want to make is we want to make UV inks curable at LED. I say it for textile, deco material, even for clothing, okay? More flexibility. You will see no pre-treatment. You can print mostly on every kind of textile material without pre-treatment. Even thermosensitive materials like polypropylene, you can print with these inks. Okay? So available as white inks, you can print on a colored material. Otherwise, the others print on white material. So you have more possibility. And although it's a UV ink, it's a very light, stable ink. So you can really also use it outdoor. Okay? There is, of course, disadvantage, and we try to eliminate this disadvantage by our research. That is more flexible ink. Normally, UV inks are stiff. On a hard substrate, it doesn't matter, but on textile, it really matters, of course. No smell, no odor, that's a priority for us. The costs, of course. the skin contact. Some inks have problem with skin contact. We want to avoid it, of course. And of course, we do it for adapted print heads. Mostly we're using LEDs instead of UV. I don't want to go, LED is more expensive, but it had advantage compared to UV. So if we look today, this is the classical way of pre-treatment and printing. Classical, screen printing. When we do digital printing for clothing, we have to add a special pre-treatment. So the digital printing is very flexible, it's very ecological, but in my opinion, you lose a lot of your ecologically and your economic favors because you need this one. And this is mostly done not in-house, but really out the house. Let's say, certainly when you are a little printer and you don't have all the facilities to do the post-treatment, to do the pre-treatment. So this is the bottleneck, I suppose. So how to avoid it? And you can avoid it, in my opinion, with UV. So we skip that. And therefore we need new UV inks. And this is what we try to do. New UV inks. You see the post-treatment. I don't go in detail, but these are the post-treatment of many of this material. Flexibility on the classic inks, but a lot of disadvantage when you use it with these inks. This steamers, washing, rinsing, drying, you lose a lot of flexibility, of course. And those guys who has not a steamer, those guys who has not a washing unit have a problem. They have outsourcing this material. So in UV, as you see in some cases here around, you print, you cure it, and that's finished. Yeah, no after treatment at all. So it's come out of machine and it's good. But for textile, as I told you, it must be new UV inks. Yeah? So what we can do also, I hope that you see it, we can do three-dimensional printing. We developed special coatings, and when you put our UV inks on these coatings, the coating is swelling. And that means when it is swelling, you have a three-dimensional picture. Okay? So by printing with UV, you have at the same time a three-dimensional effect. Yeah? You not print it all over here, but some aspect on your design, it's fantastic with that system. So this will be, I think, not only for printing, but for finishing the future. A second one we're doing is invisible inks. There's a lot of counterfeiting today in the world. Okay? I think 30 or 40% of the business, not in textile, but the whole business in Europe, is lost because of counterfeiting. Pirate products, not pilot products, pirate products. How can we avoid that? There's some, of course, possibilities. We have looked to possibilities for inks. Inks that you can get by existing machine again. Okay? You don't need to change your machine. We try to tailor-made these kinds of inks. We have two systems. One of the systems is infrared inks. That means you only see the inks with an infrared camera. You need an infrared camera. It's not easy, but okay, when you make it easy, everyone can imitate it again. Okay? So here you see the picture. We can print, of course, QR codings, and this is not only for counterfeiting. We can also, the aim is also to track and trace the products when they're sold and once they go out from the let's say, the company. Maybe to give you a better view of this inks, here you see the visible inks in visible light. You don't see anything. Here you see it in infrared with an infrared camera. Okay? So you really see it with an infrared camera. You cannot see it with your naked eye, of course. You need an infrared camera. But, okay, maybe we have to do other things with that. And we also developed an ink which are only visible with UV light of 390 to 400 nanometer, more or less visible light. And we can print it. We can print it on textile material, more or less every kind of textile material. We can wash it up to 10 to 20, 30 times. Here you see the UV light. This is already on the UV light. So when I transform it and go to visible light, everything disappears. Yeah? So you can imagine if we print that not only for counterfeiting or anti-counterfeiting, or for, let's say, tracking and tracing, I can imagine that when you put it on your textile curtains and wall coverings, and you know, we're talking about emotional textile, sensorial textile. That means playing with light. Textile and light is of course very interesting. So here we could have, let's say, a textile material printed with certain inks, and under different light you have other designs. Yeah? And this gives you a lot of possibilities. A third, what we want to present is the printing of EL, electroluminescence light, and the OLEDs, this organic LED systems for wall covering, maybe something for clothing. Yeah? I cannot go in detail, the research is going on, but I can show you the first results of electroluminescence inks. Yeah? So you see here what is possible with digital printing. Yeah? You see that you can switch on and off all these systems. Yeah? So this could be very interesting for advertising, but for other things, of course. Yeah? So when you print on textile, we're not printing on a yarn. These are printing on a yarn. We develop special photochromics, as I told you, photochromics which you can see or not see depending on the light. And when you introduce these kinds of digital printing yarns in your textile material and in combination with the special weaving system, you have very special effects. So you see we want to print photochromic inks on yarn, followed by special weaving, and here you will see the results. So here you see the sample. When the lamp light is switched, you see another design. Yeah, I hope you see it at the back too. Okay. Here for those guys who love a woman who loves cats, this is a picture of a cat. I hope it's working at this moment. No. So we will change the light. So I hope you see it, it's a cat. And then it becomes a wolf, for instance. Yeah? So you change the picture because you change the light and it's working on these inks which are jetted on some, let's say, yarns. And finally, today, certainly for certain textile material, we want to make hydrophobic inks. Yeah? So that means we want to place inks on dedicated places, on localized places. Inks where it is really needed. Now, today, we treat the whole textile material with a lot of expensive material, a lot of expensive finishing products, but it's not always necessary. So digital printing as a mean, and digital finishing, what I call, as a mean of localized jetting functionalities on the textile mill, on those places where it is really needed. And because, okay, you only print it localized, that means that inks can maybe a little higher in price, of course. Yeah. We call it a DigiFun project, digital functionalization, but it is really fun if you look all these things here. And so we want to print, for instance, on a shirt, not to print with antibacterial, to treat classic with antibacterial, but we want to print antibacterial inks on some localized places where it is really needed. Yeah? Okay. The challenge, of course, is you need the functionality, you need the durability, but at the same time, you have to switch between, let's say, durability and, of course, efficiency. Okay. And here we see the first results of our, but it's not yet ended. So this is non-treated polyester, digital printed, finished, and here we have already. Now we have already on the textile material jetted with our hydrophobic inks. You see that we have already some results, but it's not really still excellent. Yeah? But anyway, it gives you a lot of possibilities. So I want to finish with that. Digital printing, the right choice. Certainly I say, of course, it's the right choice. Huh? Who doesn't believe in digital printing? Otherwise you were not here, of course. Not only here, but here in the fair, at the fair. So it is the ideal, the optimal technology to bridge creativity and technology. It's fitted for the new trends, what I told you. Personalized, customized, new business models. It's more than printing, as I told you. It's finishing, coating, and this is coming in the picture. Yeah? And I hope maybe within a 1 year or 2 year, you will see maybe these inks on the market here or in the fair. So I want to finish with this. We organize our digital congress in Belgium on 4 and 5th September. The direction is clear from analog to digital. There you have the website of our congress. So if you're interested and you're feeling charmed what I talked about, you have to come over shortly to Belgium, yeah? Okay? So thank you for your attention. I hope you understand it. For me it was a little different in the beginning of all this music, but I hope that what I told you sounds like music too, of course, yeah? Thank you.